You're 3M, the Minnesota mining and manufacturing company, and you're on the verge of bankruptcy. You've staked everything, your dreams, your fortune, your future, on a single flawed premise. The wrong mineral in the wrong location. With every passing day, failure seemed inevitable, and your grand vision of riches buried in the earth was vanishing like a mirage in the desert. Until something changed. A door opened, and the windfall you'd been dreaming of was about to be unleashed. So what turned the tides for your luck and made 3M the juggernaut we know today? And what surprising inventions we use on a daily basis fueled their recovery? This is not just another story. This is Turnaround Source, where we extract the lessons that the other companies have learned for you. Today, when most people picture 3M, they think of masks. But that's not how the story started. It began not with medical solutions, but with a near-bankrupt mining operation, clawing at the earth, desperate for a prize it couldn't find. 1902. 5 men were on a mission to mine corundum. This was a mineral that powered the world. It's among the hardest minerals on Earth and has all sorts of industrial applications. They christened their company Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing, a name as cumbersome as their initial prospects. They staked everything, every last dollar, every ounce of hope, on a mine clinging to the windswept shores of Lake Superior. They dug, they drilled, but they unearthed nothing. Or rather, not what they craved. The mineral they clutched in their calloused hands wasn't corundum, it was anorthosite, a rock as useless as a mirage in a desert. Their grand vision, their carefully laid plans, shattered like thin ice underfoot, and they were staring into the abyss. Comebacks from the brink are among the most powerful business lessons. Learning from these experiences is key in your own businesses. That's why one of my favorite books is Scott Adams' How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. It's got major stories and lessons from business about beating the odds without the cliche. We're making an executive summary of this book in our signature turnaround style, so subscribe and check the link in the description. But before that, let's see how 3M had a turnaround of their own. Days away from bankruptcy, suddenly a savior appeared. Or perhaps was forced to appear. Lucius Ordway was a wealthy businessman who provided a large investment to keep 3M afloat. It's possible he saw the company's potential, though he may have been desperately doubling down to try to salvage his existing investment in the company. Either way, it was enough. It gave the team time to pivot to making sandpaper, the very product they'd hoped their mined minerals would support. Finally, they could see past the glimmering mining mirage to the real gold mine up ahead. Except it was no plain sailing. 3M's early sandpaper was of poor quality and struggled to compete with established manufacturers. Customers were unhappy, and the company's reputation suffered. It turned out that sandpaper was just another mirage that the hapless team had been chasing. Or so it seemed, because then William McKnight appeared. Not a scientist in a crisp white coat, not an engineer with grease-stained hands, but a bookkeeper. This was a man who began his career wrestling with numbers, but he had something far more valuable than technical expertise: vision. He looked at their flagship product, sandpaper, and saw rubbish. So McKnight did the unthinkable. He championed quality. From this seemingly simple principle, something extraordinary blossomed: wet or dry sandpaper. In 1921, the team had solved the myriad problems with not only their sandpaper, but their competition's. It was a game changer. Dust decimated, workshops transformed, sandpaper, well, now enduring. This wasn't an incremental improvement, it was 3M's first breath of fresh air, a lifeline thrown to a company that had been floundering on the verge of drowning from one disaster to another for years. But McKnight wasn't finished. He'd already revolutionized how 3M listened to its customers, sending his salesmen not just to sell but to observe, to understand the workers' struggles, their frustrations, and their needs. This direct, unfiltered feedback was pure gold, a far more valuable discovery than the founders initially sought. Looking to unlock the untapped potential within the company itself, he also did something truly radical. He created the 15% rule. Employees were told they could dedicate 15% of their time to whatever project sparked their curiosity. Their own ideas. No oversight, no permission needed. Sounded crazy at the time, a recipe for anarchy. Yet it was quite the opposite. Today, studies show that companies that foster this kind of intrapreneurship are far more innovative. And 3M, they were doing it decades before it became any kind of buzzword. McKnight knew that creativity couldn't be forced. It needed space to breathe, room to equip, room to experiment, and to fail freely. He understood that true innovation requires risk, and that sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come from the most unexpected places. As McKnight famously said, mistakes will be made, but if a person is essentially right, the mistakes he or she makes are not as serious in the long run as the mistakes management will make if it's dictatorial. It turned out this approach was about to yield exactly the kind of result McKnight was looking for. One of the bootlegging employees was Richard Drew. He wasn't working on a grand theoretical project, but real-world problems. He watched painters struggling to achieve clean lines, resorting to clumsy, improvised solutions. So, driven by that 15% freedom and the spirit of independent exploration, he started tinkering. And what emerged from his tinkering? Masking tape. A simple solution to a frustrating everyday problem. Painters could now achieve crisp, clean lines with ease. Yeah, hard as it is to believe, before a 3M scientist there was no masking tape. But Drew wasn't satisfied. He saw more needs, more frustration. He kept tinkering, and this time the result was even more revolutionary. Scotch cellophane tape. That's the clear sellotape that we all know and love today. Again, this wasn't an abstract invention. He was solving a problem and making things easier, improving lives one sticky strip at a time. But believe it or not, even more famous 3M inventions were to come. How about Post-it notes? They began not with a grand plan, but with a mistake. Spencer Silver, a 3M scientist, created an adhesive so weak it was deemed a failure, and it sat on a shelf forgotten for years until Art Fry, another 3M employee, was looking for a bookmark for his church hymnal. He needed something that would stick, but not too much. And then it clicked. Silver's failed adhesive was the perfect solution. And boom, the almost Post-it note was born. 3M initially didn't want to launch the product. They thought it was too niche, too specialized. But a test market in Boise, Idaho proved them wrong. Now, the Post-it note is a multi-million-dollar product, a ubiquitous presence in offices and homes all around the world. And it all came from a failed adhesive. From failed minds to tape titan, 3M didn't just grow, it exploded. And McKnight didn't just stick to tape, literally or figuratively. Diversification became their mantra, branching out was their strategy, innovation their lifeblood. Reflective road signs that keep us safe at night? 3M. Medical dressings that heal and protect? 3M. The magnetic recording tape that powered the cassette tape revolution? Yep, 3M. They became a global innovation powerhouse, driven by the same spirit of experimentation, the same relentless pursuit of problem solving that William McKnight instilled in the company's DNA. Today, 3M offers over 60,000 products, from everyday items we take for granted to cutting-edge technologies that shape our future. They operate in over 70 countries, touching lives across the globe. Today, 3M is best known for its medical supplies, with their N95 masks that became ubiquitous during the pandemic. They have a wide-ranging portfolio of respirators, protective wear, and surgical supplies, introducing their innovation across the medical field, even into dental products. Of course, 3M's journey hasn't been without its bumps in the road. They've faced challenges, controversies, and even lawsuits. They've had to adapt, restructure, and sometimes even spin off major divisions. Yet they're embracing the future, using AI and other cutting-edge technologies to keep the innovation flowing. Indeed, they continue to invest heavily in research and development and are increasingly focused on sustainability, recognizing that responsible innovation is key to long-term success. In fact, the current CEO is looking to reinvigorate the spirit of McKnight and is encouraging a new era of innovation driven by cutting-edge technologies like AI. And as they look to the future, 3M remains committed to pushing the boundaries of innovation while building a more sustainable world. So, no matter how bleak the outlook, remember you can always pull a 3M. Pivot, innovate, bridge fund, and wriggle your way to success. The business world is constantly evolving, and 3M has had to evolve with it. But through it all, the core principle remains: find problems, experiment, and innovate. That's the 3M way. It's a story of failure turned into triumph, and it begs the questions: what problems are you solving? What innovations are you pursuing? And what will the legacy of your turnaround be?